Hello, good afternoon, Luc.
Good afternoon.
We are happy to have you on the show. Please, could we meet you? Could you tell our viewers who you are and what you do?
Currently, I'm working at Samsung. I'm doing innovation for Samsung, and I'm based in the Silicon Valley. And I'm French, obviously, because of my accent. I did a lot of work in artificial intelligence in the past 30 years, in small companies, in research, and in large companies.
Look, I have been told that you are Mr. Siri. Siri. Tell us about that.
About Siri? So Siri was actually the idea of Siri was started in 1997. So a long time ago. We did with my friend Adam Chayer, we created the patents. So the very first patents of something that was called the assistant, something that is going to help you to navigate the internet, basically. Because back, then the internet was just coming, right? It was 94, 95. And in 97, we created the assistant that allows you to navigate the internet through voice. So it was the idea. And then it did evolve, in the company that Adam created. And then, Apple bought the company in 2010, and I joined back the company at the time to direct the lab with Adam. So this is what we did. And so after that, it did reach inside Apple, so on the iOS, on the phone, on the iPhone, it did reach about 300 million people. So it was a good success in terms of users.
Wow. The Siri, it's what defines you? I mean, how you came to international fame. How did it come about? Is there a backstory?
I mean, I'm not sure that there is a very interesting backstory, right? But I mean, we were, looking at ways to use technology to simplify, the interfaces between humans and machines. Obviously, speech is the best way to communicate, right? It communicates a lot of information with a very small amount of time. So speech is very interesting. So we were interested in speech, and because of the amount of information that was coming now from the internet, we found it natural at the time to try to use speech, try to use natural language to interrogate this big internet that was coming. So it was just something that we found totally practical, and we thought that normal human beings, the real people, like I like to call them, the real people would be very interested to use a very simple interface, the voice, to navigate the internet.
And tell me something about your current book.
So the title in English is There is no such thing as artificial intelligence.
Yes.
So it's just explaining that the artificial intelligence that we are hearing about in the movies, in Hollywood, in some media, in some books, this artificial intelligence doesn't exist. That's all false information, fake news. Okay? Because the reality is that people want to talk about it to scare themselves. Or to, it's science fiction. They are making people think that something is going to happen that is not going to happen. So I wrote the book to explain that I'm doing artificial intelligence for the past 30 years. And what I'm doing is actually very simple. We are trying to make machines better. We are trying to create a tool that is going to enhance the people, but it's just a tool. And it's going to address some very specific problems, some very interesting problems. It's going to address imagery, medical imagery, for instance, to find cancers. It's going to help people to speak to the machines. It's going to do better natural language. It's going to help autonomous vehicle to have less accidents on the road. So very specific things, but there is nothing like what people are calling artificial general intelligence, AGI, will never exist with the current methods. The current methods were developed, in 1956, right? So what is called today machine learning, basically neural networks. It was back in 1956, and we just developed that, more and more. We are doing some very, very interesting things, but we are not doing science fictions. We are not doing Hollywood, and we are not doing things that we have to be scared about. Of course, a tool, you can always use it to do something bad, but you can also use it to do something very good.
Naturally. So in your own conception, the Orwellian myth, the Orwellian 1984, it's not in your horizon.
It's not in my horizon unless we want it. What I'm saying, in this book all along is that we are in charge. We can decide to do bad things, but we will decide. So we can decide to have a 1984, ambiance or a regime or whatever. We can decide it if we want to. I mean, there are some people, in a lot of countries in the world that are, in dictatorships. I'm not saying that the people decided it, but somehow, they did decide. Somebody decided to have a dictatorship, right? So we could decide to do that. 1994 is a dictatorship using technology, right? So we could use technology to have a dictatorship. We could. We could also have technology, use the technology to have a much better world than what we have today.
A few weeks ago, I read the story of the crash in Ethiopia, the plane crash, and then the reports came out, the preliminary reports, and it was reported in it that the pilots they put in their best effort to take over control of the plane, but the plane seemed to have had a mind of its own. That's scary.
That's scary, but I don't think it's true. I mean, the bottom line is that, again, we are in control, always. If we built a machine, it's possible, I don't know this case in particular, it's possible that we built a machine that prevents us to get back the control. It's a big bug, it's a big mistake, but we built the machine, okay? So it means that we built a machine that had this, error, this bad bug or something, but we built it ourselves. So it was our fault. It wasn't the fault of the machine. The machine didn't decide, the pilot is trying to take over, I will prevent that he takes over. The machine didn't decide it. We decided it in the programmation somewhere in the chain of events.
And when we make mistakes?
When we make mistakes, there are accidents. And it's normal, it's true without the technology as well. I mean, for instance, when we are talking about autonomous cars, I'm the first to say that autonomous cars, totally autonomous will never happen. A lot of people are saying that it's, 5 years, 10 years from now. I'm saying it will never happen, totally autonomous will never happen. But I'm the first to say also that using autonomous cars, even not fully autonomous, is going to help tremendously to reduce the number of deaths in the road. Because, I'm sure that we can eliminate 90% of the accidents thanks to the autonomous cars, even though they are not totally autonomous, if they are autonomous enough, because the cars, they are not going to drink behind the wheel, they are not going to text behind the wheel, they are going to concentrate on their tasks. Are they going to have mistakes sometimes? Yes. Are they going sometimes, not to see people, crossing the road? Yes. There will be accidents, but it will be much less. But it won't be totally autonomous, but it will be much better than what we have today.
Now, given the achievements that the human civilization has recorded in the last 50 years, what do you envision life will be in the next 50 years?
So I really believe that, the society that we are in, we are creating a lot of data. Okay, we are monitored, with a lot of devices and stuff. So we are creating many, many data, and we are also creating data that we don't know about. For instance, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we didn't know anything about DNA, right? But we have this DNA in ourselves, right? So we generate it somehow, and this DNA huge amount of information that is very interesting for the artificial intelligence that I'm talking about, which is machine learning. All this data we are going to be able to analyze and know much more about ourselves, and the medical field is going to be improved thanks to the analytics on the DNA, for instance. So what I envision is a world with a lot of data that we can analyze more and more, and it is going to help us to navigate the world in a much more comfortable way, where we are going to be, to have the possibility, the ability to get stuff done much easily, to have a better health, to have, a better way to be transported. So this is the way I see the world. All those objects around us, they are going to help us. They are going to be assistants. I was talking about the assistant, the voice assistant. Now I believe that every object around me will become an assistant somehow. It will help me to do whatever task I'm supposed to do. When I'm going to walk in front of my oven, I'm going to be able just to say, cook this thing to 350 degrees, right? So very, very simple. And all the objects are going to communicate with each other in order to make my life more comfortable, easier to live.
Is it not a frightening proposition?
It could be frightening because, of course, if those things you don't control them anymore, of course it can be frightening because, you could decide to just give up. But I think that human nature, I hope, we like to learn, we like to do more things. So my hope is that if we are freed up from the tasks that we don't want to do, the boring tasks, we are going to do something better for ourselves, better for our families, our community. So it means that we are going to have more social interaction, we are going to do some more interesting things. This is what I hope. Of course, we could give up. We could just say, okay, it's all doing something for me. I'm just going to be on my couch, and eating hamburgers and drinking stuff, and we are going to all be obese. It's possible also, right? But I believe in humans.
I can see that. Do you think we have the ethical right to continue on this trajectory? Are we on the right path? If we know we can do it, are we permitted to do it?
I think that if we believe, like I do, that we can really make life better for some people, who have some difficulties in life, I think that it's the right thing to do, right? So now you're right that there is ethics. We need to be careful about the ethics. For instance, giving up your data like that for nothing doesn't make any sense. You need to have a service that is associated to that. So, and you need to understand. So education is basically, the big thing that maybe we are missing today. And that's why, I wrote this book. I wrote this book to educate people, to explain what is possible, to explain what is not possible, right? So that way we know, and in conscience, we decide to give up the data. We decide to, have some of the computer on us, IoT on us, that are going to monitor us. So we decide if it gives us a service. If it doesn't give us any service, that we don't understand, we should just not do it. So that's why, in Europe there was this law that came, last year, the RGPD, the GDPR. So GDPR is basically, very interesting because it's not only, a regulation. So it tells people, be careful, this is your data, be careful what you do with it. But it also educates the people. So it tells the people, it's dangerous, to be naked on the internet. You need to understand. Some people didn't get it before the law, right? So you need to educate people.
Yes, you are right. Someone once said to me, the mistake was what they call the cognitive revolution. That man somehow discovered consciousness, and ever since man has been God. And now we have seen a progressive increase in the number of human beings, prolongation of human life, to the detriment of every other thing, the animals, the planet, even the universe. And now with technology, we are talking of the collation of the consciousness of 7 billion people. That's too much power. That's too much power. Will Earth survive that?
We can see the world both ways. So we can see, that there is a danger there because we don't respect our planet. We don't do. We can see it like that, or we can see it, in a way that I see that is much more optimistic, which says we are going to use the technology not to destroy the planet, not to destroy the animals, not to, but we are going to use it to restore. We made mistakes. We did make mistakes. We did kill a lot of things on the planet. So we need to be conscious of that. That's why, again, there education is key. The fact that, if I knew in conscience that when I take a selfie, it's actually taking a lot of energy because I'm going to share it with people, and it's going to go all over the planet and stuff. It's taking energy. So I understand that, so am I going to take 10,000 selfies every day now? Or am I going to reduce the number of selfies that I'm going to take because I understand that it's, it has an impact on the planet. So the selfie is a small example, but it's we need to educate people to make them understand what happens. And us scientists, we need to make sure that science, is going to impact less and less our planet. Because yes, we realize, maybe we didn't realize it 10 years ago, but now more and more we realize that we are hurting it. And we need to be careful, we have only one.
And what's the theme of your presentation here in this conference? What are you talking about?
So, I'm talking about, again, the fact that artificial intelligence, the way people talk about it, doesn't exist, and but that there is a lot of domains in which the artificial intelligence, the way I know it, the way the people that are doing it, are very, very interesting. Medical, IoT, transportation. So there is a lot of interesting things.